Right then, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, 5 things that we learned watching Manchester United. Basically break all sorts of records that it's amazing. I don't know these records exist until we break them. It's like most losses since 1930 or something at this stage of the season. Sound. Anyway, blunt attack. Yeah, no shit, Steve. Yeah, well, what do you want me to say, man? Another game has gone by where Rasmus Højlund has not got a single shot on target, and it's the 4th game in a row that that's happened. Antony, Højlund, Garnacho, there is zero goal threat amongst them at the moment. Garnacho's had a stinker, and he's had a stinker for a few weeks, and even when he scored the overhead kick, I was saying this, like, he scored a wonderful goal, and he followed that up with a wonderful goal in the Champions League, but he's not playing well. He's scoring phenomenal goals when he scores them, but they're infrequent. But he isn't having an overall game. It was a similar sort of complaint about McTominay. Like, yes, he's actually scoring some goals for us. That's dried up now, by the way. But his overall contribution to the team, I'm always going to demand, and some people can't get this round their head, they go, he's scoring goals, therefore just leave him to it. You got to drill down into it. Why is he scoring goals? Is this something that is repeatable for us that you go, no, he's playing well and scoring? Like, if that's the case, like, because one of the criticisms that I get of Bruno Fernandes is he loses the ball a lot, and he does lose the ball a lot, but he makes a lot of chances. Now, that has dried up. Now, that's where I'm going to have an issue with what Bruno Fernandes is doing. Now, he was consistently creating chances, consistently taking risks, consistently losing the ball. And that's something I can get with because that is his role in the team. Like, are they playing well? Is this something repeatable, or is this a little bit of luck? Like the couple of the goals that Garnacho got, they felt a little bit like luck. They didn't feel like that this was a consistent threat and performance. I think he's a phenomenal prospect, but he's got to be someone that is coming getting cameos when your first choice winger isn't working. Obviously, Højlund had no service again. The entire forward three is playing like 3 complete strangers. Anthony's just doing just nothing. And I said this in the week, and I might have said it last night as well. I feel like Antony could be the anchor that ends up sinking Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United. You know, it's... How do I phrase this correctly? It's probably a major factor in why Jadon Sancho has seen his arse. It's a serious investment in terms of the significant amount of money. And, you know, if you haven't yet read Laurie's article about just how bad this stuff is. So you're seeing Højlund, Antony, other players. We've identified them. We've put a figure against them that we think that they're worth. And then we've gone in and paid 2-3 times that figure. How is that happening? And then we haven't identified any secondary and tertiary targets. And that's why you end up paying that sort of cash. You know, if we'd have gone in, identified Antony, said we were going to pay X for him. No, it's not happening. All right, we'll go for Kudus instead then. We will pay X for him. Like, you have options. When a team goes into the negotiating table with United, they know there's no options because they know they've not done the work to go and find somewhere else. You get your ass handed to you. Anyway, we are a team that relies on our chance creation or goals out of Scott McTominay, and we're in trouble with that. If you don't score goals, you don't win games. And we ain't scoring anywhere near enough goals. So, that's a problem. Number 2. We are far too easy to bully and score against. And you know, people will go, we just got a clean sheet at Anfield. We did, but we allowed 30-something shots. Again, I said at the time, I thought we were quite fortunate to get away with that. Their XG was 2.6 or 2.3, one of the two. Which means they should have at least scored 2 goals. You know, and that means at least 1 goal should have gone in, really. People mock XG, I think partially because they don't understand it, but what it really does do is it gives you an indication of how the game's going, and you know, it gives you an indication of, well, what's United's XG? What are we creating? In fact, let me have a look, because I didn't plan to go upon this topic, but I think it's worth us having a quick look at. So if we have a look, what are United creating? in terms of XG. So against West Ham, 0.73 goals. Against Liverpool, 0.63. Against Bournemouth, I want to say there was a penalty here, wasn't there? Did we have a penalty against Bournemouth? No, we didn't have a penalty against Bournemouth. We had a lot of shots against Bournemouth, but they were all crap. And actually, I think most of them were Scott McTominay. Anyway. Yeah, 1.1 against Bournemouth. Still didn't score, but 1.1 against Bournemouth. Against Chelsea, we got 4.2 goals created against Chelsea. We had a lot in that game. Was there a penalty in that one? Yeah, it was saved, wasn't it? Bruno Fernandes penalty saved. I knew there was a penalty recently. But we're not, Chelsea aside, which just shows how bad they are. Against Newcastle, 0.42 XG. Against Everton, we created 2. Everton actually created more than us. This is the problem. Manchester United right now are not creating enough chances to win games. But what we're also doing on the converse side of that is we allowed Everton 24 shots on goal. Liverpool were allowed 30 odd. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but Bournemouth had a lot. There's so many shots happening in our games, and actually something that I was fairly pleased with yesterday was the control in the game, seeing United in possession, because it limited that basketball game. It went to be a boring game, and it was boring. Hands down, it was a boring game. But you know what? We kind of needed that. The problem was that we didn't finish our dinner in the first half. If we'd have finished our dinner in the first half with the golden chances that we had, and there was a couple of very golden chances, then we come away with the points, because United were in such dominance and such control with the ball that we wouldn't have allowed them back into the game. But when you getting deep into the second half and you haven't scored and you have had all of this control, you're only a breakaway goal or a mistake from, having the result taken out of your hands entirely. It's the most defeats we've had before Christmas since 1930. We are far too easy to play against. Teams get far too many shots. You should take it as a personal insult, the amount when a team has a shot against you. We're fragile from set pieces. We're fragile on the counter. We're second best in duels. Fuck me, we're bad. We are bad. Number 3. Kambwala debut. So I thought he was really steady when he showed a lot of promise. I thought he showed very early in the game, first few minutes, stepping in with the ball and dribbling with the ball. No pass was on, keep going. And then he made an intelligent pass. I thought his decision-making was really good. Physically, he looks like he's kind of ready. His reading of the game seemed pretty good. He didn't really have a hell of a lot to do defensively. And a centre-back not being involved in the game too much is probably a pretty good sign. I think playing next to Johnny Evans really helped him, because I think Johnny's a real talker that's going to help somebody else through the game. Hopefully not another youngster that gets ruined by the graveyard that is Manchester United. But, at one point yesterday's game, the players with the most completed passes was Mainu and Kambwala. I think it ended up being Johnny Evans, actually, the most. In fact, no, wrong. Actually, it ended up being Willie Kambwala, 78 out of 87 passes. Johnny Evans was second with 76, and Mainu was third with 65. So there you go. He was involved in a hell of a lot. Like I said, in possession, he looked really comfortable. Didn't get to see him do too much defensively, but I think the next time anyone sees him starting a game, there won't be panic or confusion. And I think people will wish him well. So well done on making your debut. Let's see what you've got for the future, because we are so short at centre-half. That was needed. Number 4, McTominay. So if Anthony's the anchor that's going to get him dragged down, the McTominay decision might be... I can't think of an analogy. It's a fucking bad idea, is what it is. He offers nothing bar an occasional right place, right time, crash in the box goal. But he's in those positions because he's not helping out the midfield. He hides. I mean, we're talking about the passes. Bruno Fernandes supposedly plays ahead of him. Bruno got 51 out of 57 passes. Scott McTominay there was only, out of the starters, there was only Højlund and Garnacho that ended up on the ball less than him. 31 passes. United had so much of the ball. Put it this way, Onana had 41. So he was on the ball less than our goalkeeper as a midfielder. Now, midfielders, you're expecting to get, central midfielders, you are expecting them to get on the ball a hell of a lot. Kobbie Mainoo was on the ball twice as much as him. Literally, well, slightly more than twice as much as him. We are becoming reliant on a midfielder that was deemed surplus to requirements in the summer. If that doesn't explain to you how bad the recruitment is, and I was talking to someone this morning on Twitter about, did we maybe let Galbraith and Levitt and Jimmy Garner go too soon? Now, those players I don't think are going to push Manchester United at the top. Jimmy Garner probably the closest one that might have done something for Manchester United. The problem with all of those three is that they weren't integrated into the team early enough, regularly enough, so there was never any confidence, or there was never enough push in their development where you knew that they were definitely going to be of that standard. I think when the point at which they could have all come into the team, they were all better footballers than Scott McTominay. I think he got in on height and physicality alone. I don't think anybody who's watched the youth teams would argue with me that all of those three were infinitely better footballers than Scott McTominay was. And, of course, even the likes of Angel Gomez, who's now doing really well in France, all infinitely better footballers than him. But time, circumstance, height and physicality were a big factor in becoming what he became. And he's had some good performances. This isn't like a complete revision of his history. I think there was a reason him and McFred were getting selected at times, is because they could be relied upon to do a defensive role in a team. My issue with them both was that you couldn't play good football, dominating football with them in the team, because they aren't ball-playing players. This is going to be problematic for Erik ten Hag unless he figures out getting Eriksen back into the team. Can Eriksen and Mainoo play? It's not the fastest midfield. I could see that getting run over. Does it mean an adaptation of Bruno Fernandes, play him a little bit deeper to get him on the ball more and maybe give more creativity to Eriksen? Is that one of the things that we've missed? We've found this, I was going to say functional midfield, but it's not really functional. That's a massive stretch, isn't it? Have we been forced to play in what we're currently playing because that's all that's available? And I wouldn't even call it functional. But would Christian Eriksen being available actually give us a little bit of creativity, because it's someone with a bit of vision, a bit of range to be able to make something happen? I mean, I guess we'll find out now. It looks like he could be coming back to fitness. And then finally, let's end on a high, because Christ, that was bad, wasn't it? Luke Shaw, I thought he was probably one of the only bright sparks, and I thought he had a really good performance. I mean, I thought Mainoo again solid. Mainoo makes one mistake and he basically gives them a goal. I think it's the only mistake he's made in a United shirt. Otherwise, I'm impressed with how much time he has on the ball. That is such a difficult thing to find time in the Premier League at 18. There's a real talent in there with Kobbie Mainoo. So I think Kobbie Mainoo, Kambwala, I think Johnny Evans was quite solid as well, realistically. But in terms of like a genuine bright spark, I thought it was probably Luke Shaw, and it was a decent performance that was wasted. Luke Shaw is frustrating because he does have a level of ability. He was getting fuck all help defensively from Garnacho. I thought he did really well handling Kudus, who is a bloody handful in the first half, at least anyway. The scoreline would have been far worse without the performance from Luke Shaw. So well played, fair play to him. And that's the end of 5 things. But listen, before we go, make sure you have a good Christmas if you celebrate it, and if you don't, well, enjoy your fucking Monday. But cheers to everyone for tuning in. I'll see you fucking Tuesday when we're doing this all again, shall I? In a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.